So you might look at the title of this video and think, hang on a second, every football club that is part of England is technically on an island, with Great Britain being an island itself. But in this video, we're going to be looking at teams that play on islands that are off the coast of England, or for some reason, teams that are on separate islands to the English mainland and actually play in the English football pyramid. Some of these islands are quite obvious, but some of them you might have actually never heard of. There's a lot of them that I actually didn't know even existed, let alone having football teams on them. Some of them are very small and are in pretty obscure places. Some of them aren't technically islands, but they are still classed as islands. There's a lot of different categories of islands that come into this, and we'll be looking at it all in this video. But first of all, this video is sponsored by One Football, which is a great way to update with lots of different information from the footballing world. Lots of different information from a range of different leagues, not only in England, but also into Europe and across the world as well. You can put on notifications to update with different news, transfers, updates from matches, all sorts of different things. It is a really good way to stay up to date generally with football. It's got an average rating of 4.7 and 4.8 on Apple and Android, with over 1 million people voting for their rating on Android. So it is a very highly rated app that I do recommend you go and download if you haven't done so already. The link to download it will be in the top line of the description. But let's get straight into this at number 10, which is technically the biggest island that is not the English mainland itself. It's the Isle of Wight, and one of the teams that play there as part of the English football pyramid is Newport. They play in the 10th tier, and they actually share their ground with their own league rivals, East Cowes Victoria. Now, because there are two teams in the same league from the same island, I've chosen whichever one is highest ranked currently in the league table, and that is Newport. As I mentioned, the Isle of Wight is quite a big island relative to the rest of them on this list. It's got land area of 380 square kilometres, and over 140,000 people live on the Isle of Wight, which is quite a lot considering some of the ones on this list are very, very small islands in particular. To get to their away games, obviously other than the game that they play against East Cowes Victoria, they have to travel via ferry across the Solent, either through to Southampton or to Portsmouth. Obviously, getting ferries to away matches is going to be quite expensive having to do that as a 10th tier club. But those travel expenses are nowhere near what Jersey have to pay. Jersey is part of the Channel Islands and is off the coast of France. It's a lot further away from England than the Isle of Wight is, so to get a ferry there would just be a bit impractical, would take ages, and it's more efficient, especially as a lot of the teams that are in Jersey Bulls' league are from the London area. It's easier to fly to games. Jersey have to pay for away teams to fly to Jersey and stay overnight, as well as paying for their own travel to go to their away matches. It is very expensive for them to be part of the English football pyramid, but it does give players on the island a chance to test themselves against people from the English pyramid rather than just other people on the island. I've done a whole video on this. It is linked up in the cards. But let's get into number 8, and we go back to the Isle of Wight, a team that play one league higher in the Wessex Premier Division than Newport, who play in the Wessex League Division 1. It's Cowes Sports. And with them being the only team from the Isle of Wight in this league and the highest ranked team on the island, they have to travel to all of their away matches via ferry across the Solent. The Solent, I should mention, is a small body of water that runs in between the Isle of Wight and the south coast of England. Into number 7, and we go to Kenton, to an island that is around a third of the size of the Isle of Wight. It is the Isle of Sheppey. The team that play on there is Sheppey United. They're the only team that actually play in a semi-professional football league in England that is from the Isle of Sheppey. Around 40,000 people live there, and the island itself is around 93 kilometres squared in land size. It's only separated from the mainland thanks to a small narrow strip of water called the Swale, and in most places it's no more than about 500 metres in width. They're both road and railway bridges, so there are no real problems in terms of transport. You can easily just travel to games as easy as anyone else would from any other part of England. The that's not an island. They currently play in the Southern Counties East Football League, which is the 9th tier. Into number 6, it's Baffin's Milton Rovers, who play on Portsea Island, which basically makes up the entirety of Portsmouth. So if you're thinking of it this way, and you're going from the Isle of Wight, one of the teams on the Isle of Wight, getting a ferry to Portsmouth to play Baffin's Milton Rovers, then you actually never touch the English mainland, just go from one island to another island, technically. Although Portsea Island is a flat, low-lying island with a small body of water similar to the Isle of Sheppey separating it from the English mainland, this body of water, though, in some places is only as wide as around 20 metres, and as a result there are plenty of bridges and plenty of routes to get back to the mainland. And this means that for the team that were formed in 2011 and playing the Wessex League Premier Division, transport to games is not really a problem, unless you're going to the Isle of Wight. The size of Portsea Island is very small, only around 24.5 kilometres squared, but the population, as I said, it is pretty much fully filled by Portsmouth. It's got a population of over 200,000 people, which makes it the most highly populated island on this list. Number 5 is quite a similarly named island, but it is quite a bit further along the south coast towards the west. It is Portland Island, which is located in Dorset near Weymouth, and it hosts Portland United. The island's only got a population of around 12,800, which makes it one of the smallest islands on this list, and it's technically a tide island, which is where an island is connected to the mainland just by effectively a beach. There's a road that has been built that links the mainland to Portland Island quite easily. Similar to a number of teams on this list, they actually play in the Wessex League Premier Division, so if you want to do some island hopping around England, particularly on the south coast, that's the league to go and watch matches in. Now we go to an island that has Ireland in its name and used to be an island but is now technically not an island. It's Canvey Island in Essex, and the first team on this island that we'll be looking at, it is Canvey Island FC themselves. They play in the 8th tier and actually hold the record for the lowest altitude ground in England. It's actually the only ground that is below sea level, as it is right on the edge of the Thames estuary. As I mentioned, it used to be an island, but it no longer is. That's because it is now classed as a reclaimed island, which is where new land has been created to fill in the water that used to cause the island. As a result, they've been able to build roads to and from the island with absolutely no problem. There's loads of routes into it, and actually looking at a map, you wouldn't actually know unless you saw the name of Canvey Island that it is an island, because it is effectively now just merged into the rest of England. But as it used to be an island and is still classed as a reclaimed island, and it has Ireland in its name, we're counting it on this list. So number 3, we go back to the Channel Islands, and we've already looked at Jersey, so now we look at Guernsey. They now play in the 8th tier after rising up from the 10th tier, the same league that Jersey are currently in. Similar to Jersey, they have to pay for opposition teams to fly to their games, and also they have to fly to their opposition games and pay for that themselves, thus adding massive travel costs to their budget. Into number 2, and we go back to Canvey Island, the other team that is there. They currently play in the 6th tier, and it is Concord Rangers. They actually finished inside the player promotion places last season in the National League South, but were not allowed to actually partake in the playoffs because of their ground grading issues. Just down the road from Canvey Island, so it has exactly the same situation in terms of plenty of roads allowing you to get to games elsewhere. Before we look at number 1, number 1 is quite obvious. If you haven't worked out already, we'll be getting onto it in just a moment, but we'll look at some honourable mentions from some other islands that exist that didn't quite make it onto this list. Hayling United are an 11th tier side that play on Hayling Island, which is another island in Hampshire, right near to Portsea Island. It's even smaller than Portsea Island and has a much smaller population as well. Going up north to Cumbria and just off the coast of Barrow-in-Furness, there is Walney Island, which has a couple of teams on there, one that play in the 11th tier called Vickerstown FC, and also Walney Island FC, who play in the 13th tier. Walney Island itself is only 13 square kilometres in size, so it is quite a small island. Back down to Essex, another one down there is Mersey Island. There's a team that play there, literally called Mersey Island FC. Less than 7,000 people live on this very small island, and the team play in the 13th tier. The last honourable mention is one that actually doesn't currently play in the English football pyramid but could do soon. It's FC Isle of Man. Done a whole video on this. That is linked up in the cards there. If you want to find out more about them potentially entering the English system, some of the problems that they have, and whether they're actually going to be able to be allowed in. But now into number one, and it is the only team on this list that is from the Football League. It is Portsmouth, who play in League One at Fratton Park. Massive ground, massive club, formerly of the Premier League. Quite comfortably the biggest team in England that technically play on an island. There you have it, that is it for this list. Which of these teams did you know about, and which of them did you not even know they were islands that existed? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, remember to hit that like button, click subscribe as well, to update with lots of different information from non-league football. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.